Welcome to Unseen Destinations. Today we're going deep on a place that most people don't think much about, but is full of surprises. Greenland.
Yeah, you always hear about it being this giant ice sheet, right? But there's so much more to it.
Oh, absolutely. It's got this stark beauty, these old traditions, and it's changing so fast. It's amazing. So we got a ton of research here ready to unearth the most interesting stuff about it.
Yeah, should be fun.
So first of all, imagine a country the size of Saudi Arabia, but with fewer people than a small town that's Greenland. 80% ice, average summer temps, barely 10 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, you're really selling me on this trip.
Right, no wonder it's so empty. Only like 56,000 people across this huge place.
Makes you wonder about them.
Yeah, well, one thing I thought was really interesting was this whole polygamy thing in Greenland.
Polygamy.
Traditionally, Inuit women could have multiple husbands.
Wow, like how many?
Sometimes up to 3.
3 husbands. That's wild. I mean, I guess it makes sense when you think about it.
What do you mean?
Well, back then it was all about survival, right? The men were always off hunting for long periods. Dangerous, too. The women had to handle everything at home, so more husbands meant more support, more help making it through those winters.
Huh. I guess it kind of makes sense. It's just so different from what we're used to.
Definitely, though. I doubt it's very common nowadays.
Yeah, probably not modernization and all that. But it's interesting to think about how Greenland can keep its unique culture while adapting to the modern world.
It's a tough balancing act, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of history, let's go back to the beginning. How did people even get to this icy corner of the world anyway?
Vikings, right around 980 AD.
Oh, yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
I remember reading about that one Viking nobleman exiled from Iceland for murder, no less. He ends up exploring Greenland.
And to get people to come with him, he calls it Greenland. Can you believe that?
Greenland, it's like calling the desert an oasis. What does he think? Was he trying to trick people?
Some people think so. Yeah, maybe a way to lure them to this harsh place, but others say maybe he saw something we don't. Potential resources, strategic location, who knows?
Yeah, history's full of mysteries like that, but either way, some Vikings did think there, right?
They did, yeah. Life wasn't easy, though. Think about it. Sailing through icy waters only to land in this harsh environment. They had conflicts, resources were scarce, some even went back to Iceland.
So much for Viking paradise, huh?
Pretty much, but they weren't the first to live there, and definitely not the last. What about the Inuit people? They make up most of the population now.
Yeah, the Inuit, they got a long history in Greenland, right?
Thousands of years. They migrated from Canada around the 13th century, and they were already masters of Arctic survival. Their traditions are all tied to the land.
Amazing how they adapted. But our research also mentions a pretty dark chapter, the forced sterilization program by the Danish government.
Yeah, that was awful in the 20th century. The Danish government decided to sterilize a lot of Inuit women. Horrible.
Yeah. Echoes of colonialism. You find it everywhere, even in the most remote places. But changing gears a bit. Greenland isn't just about scenery and culture. It's getting more and more important on the world stage.
Definitely rich in resources, uranium, rare earth minerals, that kind of stuff. And its location between North America, Europe, Russia makes it pretty strategic.
Which reminds me of that whole Donald Trump buying Greenland thing a few years back.
Oh, yeah, that was a wild one. He made offer after offer. Denmark kept saying no.
Crazy, but I guess it shows how important Greenland's becoming.
Absolutely. Those resources would have been a huge boost for the U.S., especially with the whole China rivalry. There were even rumors about Tesla being interested because of those rare earth minerals, Elon Musk.
Right, but Greenland isn't all global power plays. What's everyday life like for the people who live there?
Well, it can be tough, especially outside the capital, Nuuk.
In what way?
Infrastructure is limited for one thing, and transportation. Well, let's just say it's not what you'd expect in the 21st century.
So infrastructure is limited, but what does that mean for getting around? Are we talking horses, camels, donkeys?
Think further north.
Wait, don't tell me dog sleds. Are you serious?
Yep. Dog sleds, still the best way to get around a lot of Greenland, especially with the cold and the distances.
Wow, that's amazing. A tradition going back centuries and still so important today. It really shows how connected they are to the land.
For sure. And dogs aren't just transportation in Greenland. They're a part of Inuit culture, hunting, companionship, even play.
That's really interesting. It's like a whole different world. And speaking of unique, I read that even housing in Greenland is different. You can't even own land.
Right. The state owns all the land. You need a permit to build a house. It's all about communal ownership, respect for the land.
That's a crazy idea for me. So how does it work? You rent from the government?
It's not really renting, but they often help with building, especially in Nuuk. And the houses are known for these bright colors against that landscape. And while you can't own the land, you can buy and sell the houses.
That makes sense. So we've talked about the challenges, but there must be some good things about living in Greenland.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Greenland has a quality of life that's hard to find elsewhere. The air's clean, no pollution, a strong sense of community. People depend on each other, and they're so connected to nature. You don't see that everywhere.
I can see the appeal. No traffic, no crowds, just wide open spaces and incredible nature.
And the northern lights, imagine those colors in the sky. It's breathtaking.
Okay, you've convinced me, but let's be real. Can't be all sunshine and auroras. We talked about limited infrastructure. What about healthcare and education?
Those are definitely tough areas, being so remote. And with limited resources, it's hard to get specialized healthcare. And while education's gotten better, it's still tough, especially outside Nuuk.
So it's a trade-off, amazing environment, unique way of life, but you also face limitations.
Exactly. Finding that balance between the beauty and challenges of such an extraordinary place. But there's one challenge that's bigger than all the others: climate change.
Climate change. Greenland's right on the front lines of that. And the melting ice sheet is a huge deal for everyone, not just Greenland.
Definitely, the melting ice contributes to rising sea levels all over the world. And for Greenlanders, it means adapting to a changing environment, maybe losing their traditions, facing an uncertain future.
It's sad to think about. So, melting ice, rising seas, changing environment, geopolitical interests. What does it all mean for Greenland's future?
That's the big question. As the ice melts, it opens up possibilities for extraction, shipping routes, even tourism. But there are also risks, exploitation, environmental damage, losing their unique culture.
A lot to think about. And then there's independence. Greenland's been self-governing since 2009, but it's still part of Denmark. Could climate change and all these new opportunities lead to full independence?
Maybe there's a growing independence movement in Greenland. They want more control over their future, but it's complicated. Independence would bring new challenges, and who knows how they'd handle things as a separate country.
It's a tough balancing act, tradition and progress, local needs and global interests. But at the heart of it all are the people of Greenland. What are their lives really like with all these forces at play? Yeah, it's easy to focus on the big stuff, politics, climate change, but it's the people who really matter.
Absolutely. Imagine a place where you can travel by dog sled, where hunting and fishing are how you live, and where the northern lights fill the sky.
It sounds incredible.
It is in a way, but it's also a place with real problems, climate change, social and economic stuff. It's a world where old traditions meet modern life.
It sounds like Greenland's a land of contrasts, ice and beauty, ancient ways, but also modern problems.
Exactly. It's a place that deserves attention, not just for politics or resources, but for its culture and its people.
And that's what we've tried to do in this deep dive into Greenland, from Vikings to Inuit, from everyday life to the things shaping Greenland's future. It's a look at a world that's both familiar and totally unique.
It's been fascinating, and I think we can say that Greenland is definitely not unseen.
It's not, and as we wrap this up, I'm left with this feeling of awe, but also worry. What happens to the people, the culture, as the ice melts and the world changes?
That's the question, isn't it? Greenland's story is really everyone's story. Adaptation, resilience, the power of connection. It reminds us that what we do today about climate change, about how we treat each other and the planet, it all has consequences, not just for Greenland, but for everyone.
So to our listener, we leave you with this. Try to picture yourself in Greenland. Feel that Arctic air, see the northern lights, learn from the wisdom of its people. Let this spark your curiosity, help you understand our world, and maybe even inspire you to learn more about this amazing place.
Because Greenland's story isn't over, it's still being written, and we all have a part in what happens next.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Greenland. Until next time, keep exploring those unseen destinations that make our world so interesting.